joining us the first time, Business Pro Paul. Call now, 647. Someone is standing by to tape serve. We are giving away hundreds of dollars today in the show. Paul, how are you?
I love the $100 of stuff. I think it's always important to connect, make sure we reward them for their loyalty. How are you doing?
I'm good. Weekend upon us, into June already.
Goes.
Yeah, you got a show today. We haven't had one before.
Yeah, so I'm participating in one of our giveaways for this morning.
Okay.
So I want to take a slight departure from that.
Okay.
In marketing and all the world tasks that we need to create into that is the concept and how someone goal and achieve that goal in their head that's to achieve. But the only way to get that is to work. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
And once you claw really hard your way to the top, how to support you on that journey and how many. And so we're seeing some media of the recent passing of Anthony. Have you watched the
like storyteller, narrator?
But I travel a lot in full of mine to get every month. So, and I did that. I've been so December, January, February. I'm gone 4 days,
Just get
5 days, a month.
Yeah.
Make it write the whole thing off.
Mm-hmm.
Goal that I wanted, but Anthony Bourdain, that was his job. Travel, and for someone like that, his own life is like, why would anybody have something like that?
Right.
And then Kate Spade, 2.4.
At just 55.
How does it build suicide? And so this concept or success typically means financial success. And a lot of people think that money, happiness, it's a pretty good, but it's true. It helps you to understand that if you want to do like buy a house or a car, you can't pay for those.
Good call. Let me ask you stuff we discussed before the show. Scenarios are true for you. No dreams/success or being happy is my everyday. In that state of happiness, I will try.
Wow, you asked
chicken and
really.
egg.
I think I actually had. I have a friend yesterday. Then I don't want to talk about Bell, but there was a big thing at the Hills and but for average all lineup, and I got to see all the stuff like that, which I actually saw. Do you know?
New World.
So Star Trek series?
Michael Burnham.
Yeah, Star Trek series.
Really?
So that was the thing up at this event, other than free food. But he to a girl. They always used to tell me, he goes, her biggest, I'll be happy if we have these things, when we achieve status.
Always the carrot dangling in front.
Answer to your first question, will I have dreams, then I'll be happy. That's because but success doesn't get your state of mind or enthusiast level of energy that a human. For me, is an everyday behavior, and I think that is. In my world, and I have a new life. My old life was a few times where I was a professor. That's a tough business to be in. It was hard on me, and part of the reason I started to relearn about and happiness and all that kind of stuff. Lessons. Right. So the people like Joe Vitale, even guys like Tony Robbins, with Tony Robbins. Yep. It is a mindset success just by being happy. Concept, and I'm going to be mean because the people like and it's a state of to the break. I will talk about number. They can call us right by. We'll give them $100 worth of stuff shortly.
That number 608 Pros. Someone's for the Business Pros Radio Show. Radio 640 Toronto. In touch with Paul right now. St. Pros. Someone is standing by $1 worth of stuff to business owners, and you will be answered. Back deep show today. I'm like
deeper than normal because how we can talk about tangible need to do in their business to be successful. Behind that, which says I get lost, or no matter how many, I am deep specific outcome, and they're happy on that journey. Phrase. It's about. There's some truth to that journey. If it is a enjoyable journey, it makes the. Right. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then, I'm done.
Yeah.
One, and you keep going. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I talked a little bit about before the break about the concept of happiness. To me, that's energy. Energy is everything. And there's really 4 levels of energy that I can pare it down to. I think there's interim levels, but there's basically 4 levels. There's one which falls beneath the median line of energy, which we call resistance. Whenever somebody doesn't like something, the amount of energy they put into resisting it creates their unhappiness. Yep. It creates worry, fear, doubt, overwhelmment, frustration, anger, and the list goes on and on.
It's like going to the dentist.
And the more you do that, the more you resist those things, right? Resistance is futile. Yeah. The more you resist, the more...
Star Trek
reference. Thank you. The more you resist, the more it will persist. And a lot of people are like, well, I worry all the time. Well, that actually attracts more of the same.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
Like energies attract, and that's an energy. It's a human energy. Right above that line is acceptance. Yep. And that's the minimum requirement for happiness. You got to accept that things are going to go poorly sometimes. Yep. You ever been stuck in traffic?
Yeah.
What exactly can you do about that?
Absolutely nothing.
And
the steering wheel.
The more you resist it, and the more you try to dodge cars, and the more you try to get ahead, you see cars do that. And then as soon as you're out of the traffic jam, they're right beside you. It's like, well, hi, how's it going? Right. So acceptance of what is, and I'm not saying putting up with the things that you don't like in your life. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying certain things you're going to have to accept.
Just got to suck it
There
up.
are have tos on the way to your want tos. Yeah. You with me?
Yeah, 100%.
The higher level, the next energy to that is enjoyment. Mm-hmm. Like, tell me something you love to do.
Go to the gym.
Great. Does anybody have to force you to do that?
No.
John, get up, go to the gym.
Well, on occasion, but generally no. Right?
Nobody has to force me to go boating. Nobody has to force me to play golf. Nobody has to force me to take a vacation. Those are things that I enjoy. That's a much, much higher level of energy than acceptance. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then the highest level of energy, which is guaranteed to bring you anything you want. Guaranteed. If you live this energy every single day, no matter how long it takes you, you will enjoy the ride, but you will get there quicker than most people because it's an energy that attracts similar energies to it. Yep. So that energy is called enthusiasm. And it has a formula. And the formula of enthusiasm is the following. It requires two things. Mm-hmm. How many things, John? Two. Number one, enjoyment. So that's part of the equation. You have to love what you do. So if you're in business just to make money and you hate it, you're not going to get very far very fast. Does that make sense? So make sure you love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. 2, couple with that enjoyment is one other thing. What do you think it is?
Hard work.
Well, most people would say hard work.
Right.
I think otherwise, because if hard work were all it took, we'd all be happy.
It's true.
We'd all be skinny, rich, and happy.
It's true.
Would you agree with that? So it's really not hard work. Hard work is sometimes you have to do that because it's a have to on the way to your want to. But in my world, it's just big goal. So couple enjoyment with a very specific big goal, and that's what creates the enthusiasm to take the journey in the first place. You with me?
Yep. So
in addition to that, our guest is going to talk a little bit about the psychology of that in much more depth because she's I don't know what her designation is actually. I'll ask her when we get there. And we'll talk about that more in depth after the break. And we're going to talk about a conference that's coming up, a full-day conference that we're going to give away to our loyal listeners.
Great.
That's right, you listeners sitting there with your coffee and in your car.
With your phone.
This is pick up your phone time because we're going to take the first 20 people and we're going to give them a couple of tickets to this amazing conference.
That number to call, 647-608-PROS. Do it now. Someone's standing by to take that call. Lots more of the Business Pros Radio Show is on the way. This is Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Pros Radio Show, 647-608-PROS. Someone standing by to take your call. First come, first serve. Lots to give away here. Hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. And a conference I know, Paul, you want to talk about in a little bit. And finally, our guest is with us on the air as well.
So her name is Roxanne Derhodge. She's a clinical psychologist.
Hi, Roxanne.
And she is running an amazing conference coming up on, I got to get the date. What's the date, Roxanne?
June 22nd.
June 22nd. And it's going to be a full-day event. I'm actually participating in it. So for those of you that want to come meet me and hear me speak and talk about cool things, which I'll talk about in a moment, that's what we're going to talk about with Roxanne. Okay. So Roxanne, how are you doing this morning?
I'm awesome. Thank you.
Now that's positive. Right there, right?
Right. She has the keys to the universe. Yeah. She's awesome.
I hope I do. After practicing for 25 years in psychotherapy. I actually started at the Metro Toronto Police back in, goodness, I'm going to date myself, 1988, where I was part of a trauma team. So, seen lots and feel privileged to be able to be with you here today.
So we've been talking about, Roxanne, and we're so happy to have you here. Thanks for making the time. We've been talking about the stress of business and people sort of clawing their way to the top and mental health issues and all that kind of stuff because of, Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade and all these seemingly successful people. Are we taking it for granted that our leaders and employees are happy?
I think so, because we expect them to act or look a certain way when success is defined, unfortunately, like you said earlier on the externals. And, when we look at success, and you talked a little bit about having a big goal, how do we define success in society? It's generally financially driven. So you have this big audacious goal that you're going to go after. But, people aren't looking at other things in their life. Like, maybe I want to create this $1 billion business, but it's going to put me on a train, plane, on an automobile away from the things that I value the most, which are maybe my kids and my partner. And so I may be achieving this goal, but that's the long term is to create this wealth externally, but how is it affecting the other areas of my life? And I think that becomes really important to look at what is success for me, and to start there. If we look at these two individuals that really purvey the significance of success in our society by all means, and the big question I know comes through to the average person is, what am I missing? I'm looking to achieve all these goals, and I look at these individuals, and they technically have everything that society...
They checked all the boxes, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's because they get disconnected from their whys, potentially. As a psychotherapist, I deal with people creating a lot of phenomenal things, but they're not dealing with some of the core other elements of what they're feeling internally about themselves. I'm going to get love when I've created this $1 billion industry and I'm traveling the world. But truly, do I feel connected to me? And what is my purpose?
Paul, both of you, Roxanne and Paul, you could add, do you think it's more of a Western culture thing?
I think the Eastern culture has a bit more connected, because we look at sadness as being something that we sit with. This too will pass. Right. Whereas in Western society, we want to do something. Let's do something to get out of that state. And truly, feelings are just that. They're either good or they're bad, but they're just feelings. Oh. And we have 60,000 thoughts and feelings every single day. But if we reacted to each feeling that we had, it would be a bit of a circus, wouldn't it?
So part of the goal would then be to learn how to not be sad by not having to do something.
It's to accept sadness at times, just sit with it. I always, my terms that I use is honor it, bear it, and let it go. Joy is joy. Sadness, at times we all feel sad.
That was one of our levels of energy, right? Enjoyment. Yeah. But you couple enjoyment with goals. So I was taught that if you want to achieve something, you have to visualize it and know exactly what it is. Do you feel that's an important step?
Absolutely, because the brain's a pretty simple thing, even though it's intricate. It listens to what we tell it. And unfortunately, the conscious brain, we think we know, and we focus there. But what are the unconscious kind of blocking beliefs that might kind of sit? And those are the low energies. And if you haven't addressed some of those concerns, those may be the things that come up. And if we look at the issue of mental health, really, is it clinical depression with some of these concerns, or is it just situational depression where the individual has not dealt with the pain underlying that, but they've achieved fantastic things in life? With these two individuals that you've been talking about, they've obviously done fantastic things. Is it clinical depression, or is it situational depression, which they didn't stop to focus on and really honor that and deal with what the pain was?
I find that because we live in a very fast food based world where you want to go up to the pickup window, order an order of success and a side of a big bag of money. You drive up to the window and somebody says, okay, now you're successful, and they toss in a big bag of money and you drive away. And so they're after the sort of quick fix. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I think, so I mean, this is going to sound a little bit warm and fuzzy on your business show, but we're all looking to be loved at some point, and
I think it's a great thing for a business show. I mean, you're business to business, business to consumer. It's like people to people.
Right. And if you think about celebrity, a lot of times, if those people miss those core messages and they want to be revered by the world, and they've gotten to the pinnacle of success, but they still don't like who they are.
Right. I need to be admired. I need to be on a pedestal. I need to be a celebrity, like I saw last night at the Bell Media thing.
Right.
Strutting their stuff across the stage. And we often associate the fact that we recognize them with ultimate success. But yet, as we see, many of these people are not necessarily happy or successful.
All right. And they're people. So after they, hit the red carpet, they go back to their rooms. and hopefully they have that internal
They have
fulfillment.
do they have bigger rooms? They must have bigger.
Potentially.
Nicer rooms.
Nicer rooms.
Yeah. Better writers. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think it's sitting with who am I? What is my big why? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? To your point, right? It's good. It's great. And we, all should have really fantastic, big, scary goals that are, may seem unachievable. But really, at the end of the day, how is that fitting into how I see my legacy in the world?
So let's talk about your event. Okay. So the date was
June 22nd.
And it starts at
12 o'clock.
And it finishes at
5:30. And we have a little, prior to that, we're going to give away for the free tickets for people coming in. 11 to 12, you can meet all the authors and speakers and get a copy of their books that will be signed, and the opportunity to take
I
pictures
have to sign
with
my
us.
book? Do I have to?
Yes, we would unfortunately like to have that original signature, unless you have a stamp.
I do that, actually. I've sold way more books off the stage than I ever sold on Amazon. And when people ask me to sign them, they look at that, they go, I can't even read that. How are people going to know that's you? I go, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like people to stay after the event, because we're going to do a mix and mingle, have a little bit of,
networking.
Absolutely, because,
Cool.
a couple of people that will be there will be talking a bit about synergies and how to collaborate, and connection creates major things.
Where is it?
It's at 5400 Dixie Road at the Sandman
So near the
Hotel.
airport.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. So easy to get to.
Yes.
Sounds like a great event. I'm pleased to be a part of it. We're actually giving away tickets.
Yes.
She's agreed to give away 20 tickets, 20 pairs of tickets, actually,
Yep.
which is a couple $100 of value per pair. And all you have to do is call 647-608-7767 or 608-PROS, which is the number. There's actually somebody standing by to take your call, because we know if you leave a message, they're like, did I get the tickets? Did I not get the tickets?
It's no good.
There's someone to talk to, and you should come, because it's going to be awesome. And we'll talk about who's in the lineup of speakers, and we'll talk about some of the other elements that people will learn and take away from that event. I'm pleased to be a part of it, and obviously, thank you so much, Roxanne, for sharing this conference with our listeners.
Again, that number 647-608-PROS. Call now. Someone's standing by. Get those tickets and be at the leadership training at a conference on the 22nd. It's going to be some good stuff. Lots more. The Business Pros Radio Show is on the way. This is Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Bros Radio Show. You want to attend the event, in which we'll talk about in more depth here in just a moment. Roxanne is inviting you to come and giving away some tickets as well. 647-608-PROS. Someone is standing by right now to take your call.
That's right. Our guest this morning is Roxanne Derhodge, clinical psychologist, really smart person, put together this amazing event lineup of speakers. And it's really all about the concept of what she calls authentic leadership. So, Roxanne, you're going to tell us what that is and why that's important.
Well, authentic leadership is about connection. So what we know is that the more that we're connected to ourselves, we're able to, under stressful situations, which unfortunately in business, we know that's approaching often. So anybody that's at the C-level of a suite or B2B, you're constantly having to get things out. So when you're connected, you're able to understand yourself and understand internally what's happening to you, and then react to others in a way that keeps them connected to you. If I'm a leader and I'm so stressed out that I need to kind of go in my back office and block off the light because I need to be able to, deal with myself internally, I disconnect from the people in front of me. Okay. So what we're hoping with this particular event to do is to talk to C-suite individuals about what they could do to minimize the impact on issues around mental health. So the spectrum of mental well-being all the way to mental illness, we have speakers that will speak from beginning. So how do you identify, how do you connect, how do you stay connected to yourself mentally so that you can stay healthy, all the way to how you can prevent issues that we'll talk about. And we have a celebrity speaker that's coming in from the U.S. to speak on mental health and addictions.
Well, don't leave us in suspense.
Okay, so,
who is our big celebrity speaker?
Brian Cuban, who is Mark Cuban's little brother, is coming in. So he's had issues around, body image or body dysmorphia. He's had mental health issues. He's had multiple suicide attempts. Unfortunately, it's interesting that we're having this talk.
But he's past that.
He's past that. He's been in recovery.
Yeah.
No, he's doing quite well.
Okay.
And so I wanted to talk about what kind of things from myself, talking about authenticity. We have people talking about collaboration, connection, social advocacy in companies. What kind of things can you do? You're going to be talking a bit about mission and vision and connection to the self and the bigger purpose. And then we'll have him on the other end of a mental well-being or mental health. What kind of things can companies and individuals, even as entrepreneurs, what do you need to do to make sure that you're going to stay connected to yourself, to stay healthy in order to achieve these goals that you have?
Right. And you talked a little bit, and I recognize that there's a lot of great speakers in the lineup, and it's going to be a great event for everybody. One thing you mentioned earlier about stress in business, I think most people would agree that no matter what position you're in, you're going to experience that perhaps on a daily basis, perhaps on an hourly basis, or perhaps all the time. And I find it always helpful to kind of know what things are in order to sort of baseline and then begin to deal with them. And the best definition I ever heard of stress, and I want to ask you, Roxanne, if you think this is a good definition or whether you have another one or one that you think is better, but this is the best one I've ever heard, okay? And I think it was... I'm going to say Dr. Robert Anthony, but I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Here it is. Stress is the amount of energy that you put into resisting your situation.
Interesting.
So it's not the situation that's causing you stress. It's your resistance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's your perception of the stressor and the interpretation of the events.
Correct.
And what meaning you're putting to that event, and that impacts your behavior.
Right. And then people would call that normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned is that you can either, use the flip switch to get you out of that from a mental perspective and then focus on what you should do or should be doing in order to counteract the stress of the negative situation.
And stay present. We have 5 senses. So how often when we're stressed do we really stop to say, what am I doing presently to stay present? Because really, if we're projecting to the future, we're anxious. And if we're kind of repelled to the past, we're no longer functional with the situation that we're in front of.
The Power of Now is one of the first books I ever read on my journey back to wellness. It's a difficult concept, though. That's not something you say live in the present moment, and people are like, well, the only thing I know is what I've lived and what I'm about to live. And that's where they kind of use the failures of the past or the successes of the past to measure their actions, which will lead to a future event. And when I achieve that future event, then I'll be happy. So present moment awareness, while it might sound like a simple concept, nothing could be further from the truth.
I agree with you. And that concept is looking at yourself and being able to go internally long enough to recognize, what am I thinking? Where is it taking me? And what association, past or future, am I connecting to that event to keep myself present? So I would say to someone, you talk a lot about vision and mission. How do I stay connected to myself with these goals? So is this, in the big scheme of things, detrimental? Or is it just kind of veering me off course a bit? And so maybe I flip 5 pictures of my son, because he keeps me grounded about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Or I listen to music that brings me back to the beach or the golf course. Or, or I connect with something like something sensory, like a great cup of tea or a coffee, to keep me in the present. Because once I'm in the present, really, that's all I have, which is called dual processing.
Mechanically, is this a minute-by-minute thing that you're supposed to do, or hour-by-hour, day-by-day?
It's something that we say that you should check in with yourself often.
Okay.
I think if you find yourself acting, because behavior, the way we behave, is the first sign of your ill content in front of others. It's not the stress that's causing you to be upset. It's the way you behave as a result of it. So if you find yourself approaching anger, fear, resentment, overwhelmment, all of those things that we experience on a regular basis, then you have to bring yourself back into the present moment. Actually, Brian Clemmer, who's one of my mentors, author of several books, passed away at the age of 61 from an aneurysm in his neck. and he was at the top of his game, and he taught me to often picture yourself in the country, a nature scene, running stream, like just sit there and almost like meditation, but very quickly. Does that make sense?
Right.
Just sort of bring yourself out of it and say, well, what's really important in my life and in this situation? Right. So I'm expecting the conference to be great.
Yeah.
I have an expectation that it will be. Anything that I participate in, I always try to do my part to make it a great event, and I'll be there. If you want tickets,
yes,
and I don't think it's an if, I think it's a when. When you want tickets, call us at 647-608-7767 or 608-PROS, sorry. And we've got 20 pairs of tickets. They're $100 a piece, so that's like $200 per pair. And it's an event you're going to want to be at. I mean, everybody else is paying, and we're giving you free tickets.
Slide in gratis. It's nice.
I think it's important to accept those gifts when they're available.
Right. Call now. Again, that number is 647-608-PRO. Someone standing by. Make that call. 20 pairs are going out the door. You want to have a pair for yourself. Lots more on the way. Business Pros Radio Show, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Bros Radio Show. You want to go to the conference? There's 20 pairs of tickets, absolutely free. Couple $100 worth. You want to make this call? 647-608-PROS. Someone's standing by right now to take the call. So get on. It's going to be a great conference. It's going to be really cool.
Well, actually, I'm participating in it, and Roxanne is here. It's her event. Roxanne Derhodge. She's talking about it from a global standpoint, but my participation in it will be very specific. This is something that I've learned over the course of my business, something that I help actually businesses do, is create a culture within the business that supports the growth of the company. If a company's not growing, my whole thing is, what's the point? It's like, if it's status quo day after day, it gets boring really, really quickly. So pick a big goal and realize it. So I'm going to be talking about something called Inside Advantage. And Inside Advantage contains many things. It's, number one, what makes your company unique and uncommon in the marketplace, because different is better than better. I think we've often talked about what different means, like Jägermeister.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very profitable company on a product that, quite frankly, isn't that good. Yeah. Maybe they don't want me to say that, but it's like the Buckley's cough syrup of alcohol.
Personal taste. You got it.
But, why is it so profitable? Because it's different. So the concept of building a business is, how does my business measure up against the competition in the marketplace by standing out? But it's more than that. It's the company has to decide, and the leaders have to decide on vision. And vision, to me, and we're going to talk to Roxanne about this and see what she thinks. Vision, I subscribe to the Jim Collins version. So Jim Collins, good to great, that kind of stuff. Jim Collins says it's three things. Number one, mission, which is, where are we going? Number two is purpose. Why are we going to go there? Mm-hmm. What's our purpose? What's our company purpose? What's our individual's purpose within the company? And finally, core values is the how. And core values is, in our company, we have 9 of them. Like, I'll give you an example. We sweat the details. We make no excuses. We honor our commitments is another one. And so we have these 9 core values that act as the behavioral measuring stick on how we go about our mission. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Roxanne, what do you think?
I think that makes a lot of sense, because you're actually looking at metrics in reference to behavior. Like, these are the expectations that you have, and those should be the people that you want to attract to stay. Or to
it's how we hire. It's how we fire.
Absolutely.
We hire based on core values. We fire based on violating core values.
Right. And I think that makes it a lot better. Like, if we talk about leadership again, you're going to be acting in a certain way based on your leadership style, which would be based on those expectations of your employees. And so when you're under growth pressures, acquisitions, resizing, downsizing, all those things, then you're still going to go back to those core values for individuals. So from a corporate perspective, people want to know what's going on. So keeping your communication in line with that becomes very, very important. Even if you have nothing to say something that keeps them feeling connected to you and to what's happening in the marketplace.
And in addition to that, I think it's a little bit more because it's not always what you say. For example, you can tell a kid what to do and they probably won't do it. Kids don't do as you say, they do as you do. That's why parents who have strong relationships and they lead by a set of core values, that's how the child learns those core values. It's the same in business. If the CEO and the executives of the company behave differently than the core values that they're stating, doesn't matter what you state, people will always reflect how they're behaving those core values. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'll give you an example. I worked at different consulting situations and, it was a health and wellness firm. And so, we were under massive growth and stuff like that. And at the senior leadership, what was happening is there was an affair going on. So here you are. People are under massive, pressures to continue to perform. And you have your two key senior leaders not acting in an appropriate way. So what people were focused on was not how they could do the best to grow the business based on health and wellness. But in fact, they were more focused on the behavior of the two senior people and how that brought morale down. They weren't focused on what needed to get done, which would have continued to grow the company. So good point. With our kids, we don't just throw them away when they have bad behavior. We coach them accordingly, but we're looking for leadership from the top down to the front line.
The number's 647-608-PROS. You want to take part of this conference. It's a couple $100 worth of value. Care so much about the issue. Want you there. Take advantage, right?
Yeah, and Roxanne's going to tell us the date again.
It's June 22nd. It's at the Sandman Hotel, 5400 Dixie Road. And it starts at 12 to 5:30. We will have an event for the newcomers or the people that are calling in to meet and greet and get a signed copy of each book. And Paul, yes, you will have to sign your book. And you will...
I have more than one. Do I have to sign them all?
Several.
Yeah, the book.
And, you'll be able to get a copy of my book, Brian Cuban's book, and meet all the authors and speakers. Elena Chapman, CEO Space will also be there, networking.
What a great organization,
like yes,
CEO Space.
Yes,
yeah.
so they're going to be coming in to talk about collaboration and how collaboration creates exponential connection and then how that creates business growth.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in this morning. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and we've talked on the phone before, and it's a pleasure to participate in your conference. And I'm expecting it to be a great event, and I will be telling people not just here on the radio show, but through our mailing list and other things. So I'm happy to participate. So thanks for making the time.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's been amazing.
And again, to take advantage of those tickets and head out to the conference, the number 647-608-PROS. Someone's standing by to take your call. Make that call right now. Business Pros Radio Show continues. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Pros Radio Show. Take advantage to head off to that conference, giving away 20 pairs of tickets, a couple $100 in value each. So the number 647-608-PROS. Someone's standing by now to take your call here on this beautiful Sunday. So got a few minutes. What a fantastic show, man. Very informative.
It's been fun.
Very cool.
It's been fun.
Yep.
If they want to hang out with us at that conference, it's Friday, June the 22nd. From like noon to 5 p.m. And there's, events before, events after. It's a great networking opportunity. We're expecting, 400 or 500 people. And we're giving away some pairs of tickets. So call us now because there's somebody standing by to talk to you. It's very important that you continue learning because most people don't know this, but if you're a know-it-all, you don't get very far. So become a learn-it-all. And that will take you places that you've never been before. And I'll be there talking about vision and insight advantage, which I sometimes talk about on this show. This show's been a little deeper than from a psychological standpoint and a behavioral standpoint than most shows because we're often talking about how do you measure Google AdWords, which is important. But getting yourself motivated to do that, which is something you need to do. It's not the easiest thing to do. Right. So we're going to help you out and other speakers are going to help you out. There'll be book signings and all kinds of things. And it's a great conference, $100 value. Just call the number 416-608-PROS. There's someone standing by to give you a pair of tickets, which is a couple $100 value, which I think you're going to love. Yeah. So take our word for it. It comes with a money back guarantee.
How's that work?
Well, it's free. So we'll give you some free advice.
Done.
Anyway, so who's going to benefit from this event? I'm going to say anybody who's interested in more out of life, but mostly for business owners, CEOs, CFOs, people in positions of leadership like yourself. And we want to make sure that you have a good time and you learn a lot. I'm specifically going to be talking about vision, which I talked about a little bit on the show, mission, purpose, and core values. And I just want to finish off with this. When you talk about mission with a company, I often have to do this with company owners. So let's say you're a $5 million company and you want to get to 10. You can't just go, we want to get to 10 million. That's not actually a goal. You can measure goals with financial success, but you can't create them just by focusing on money. Okay. Money's a medium of exchange to get you what you want. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So mission means, where are we going as an organization? What's our mission? Are we going to Mars? Are we going to, try for the moon? Are we going to try for the stars? Like, where are we going? Like, Star Trek, it's been a lot of Star Trek references this morning.
I noticed,
a 5-year mission to seek out new life and new
Now it's
civilization.
continuing
Where does it
mission.
say?
Yeah.
Where does it say we're going to seek out new life and new civilization, and we're going to make $10 million?
Yeah, it didn't say
It
that.
didn't say that. It's all about rewards that are tangible, but yet not measured in dollars and cents. So I often have to work with company leaders and say, well, what do you want? And they don't know how to answer that question. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Well, we just want a bigger company. Well, how do you measure bigger? Here's $10. Now you're bigger.
Right. It's true.
It's like you gotta pick something that's risky. You gotta pick something that's measurable, and you gotta put a time limit on it. But essentially, mission means, how can you envision for the company and its employees where you're actually going? And that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
What do you want to do, be, or have in your company and in your life that you don't have right now? And often I have to help people figure that out. They don't know. I once came across a company, 2 brothers inherited a very successful company. All of a sudden they lost a big client. Now it's not so successful. And in the first meeting, I said, well, what do you guys want? And they go, I don't know.
Want to get that client
We've
back.
never needed anything. Like, how do I even think about that?
Yeah.
And then there's, after mission, there's purpose. Well, why are we going to do that? Why do I want to achieve this particular goal? Why does the company want to go there? And that's often to do with, how would it make you feel if you got there? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we were to do this thing, become that person, become that business, have this new existence, how would that make us feel? That's our purpose. That's
right.
our reason for doing things. How does that impact the community? How does that impact the world? I'm sure that Elon Musk doesn't think, gee, I wonder how much money I'm making off of every sale of every car. He doesn't think
Way
about that
beyond
at all. He created a vision and made a company out of a technology that wasn't really that great at the time. And now it's great because somebody had to have the vision, but he made green cool.
Right.
Would you agree with me?
Yep.
He made green cool. So is that your purpose? Right? That companies need to understand, why are they doing something? Because I want to make green cool. So it impacts the planet. And then finally, we talked with Roxanne, who was our guest earlier today, about core values, right? The set of behavioral measuring sticks that we measure our success by, and how we hire our people and how we fire them if they violate those core values. In my company, my favorite is we honor our commitments. And I find that that's not always
should be
normal or common these days, honoring a commitment. I always found that no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it is, and no matter how much you don't want to, you should always honor the commitments, the promises that you make to other people. Here's one interesting thought before we finish the show. If you want to promise something, don't promise it to yourself, because you break your own promises all the time. Oh, I'm going to get thin. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to get more money. Don't promise yourself you're going to do those things. Promise somebody you care about. You with me?
Yeah.
Promise somebody you care about that you'll do those things, and how will it impact their life? And so it's been an interesting Business Pros radio show. I look forward to seeing all of our listeners at the conference. We have 20 pairs of tickets to give away. John's going to finish up, give you the information.
Done for another week. That information, that phone number right here, 647-608-PROS, 20 pairs standing by. Call now and take advantage. We'll see you at the conference on the 22nd at the Sandman Hotel on Dixie Road again.